The children, the children. Doesn't it seem like that's how politicians talk about? We have to do this for our children. Everything is about that, or at least it used to be. And every time I hear a politician say that they are doing something because they care about the children, I am so suspect because look at the state of America's children. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. My name is Elena Barbera. This is the Based Mother Show. And tonight we're going to talk about a couple of high ranking politicians in America who are absolutely full of it when they talk about their care for children. Let's start with Nancy Pelosi. This is an interview she did a little while back, and it epitomizes everything I'm talking about. When you hear politicians talking about children, look for their horns because they're there. You might not be able to see them, but they're there.
What are the three most important issues facing the Congress? For my whole time in Congress, I've always said the same thing. Our children, our children, our children. Their health, their education, the economic security of their families, a healthy, safe environment in which they can thrive, a world at peace in which they can reach their fulfillment. It's always for me about the children. So I've said, and people laugh when I say it, but I always say to candidates, and especially women candidates, when you come into this arena, you're in the arena, you're going to have to be able to take a punch. You have to be able to throw a punch for the children.
Ugh, it just sounds evil. For the children. When was the last time they actually did anything good for children? Between letting illegal aliens pour into the country who have raped and murdered American children, putting in curriculums in school that have failed American children. You'll hear me say all the time that only about 40% of American children can actually read at grade level. In some places, there are entire schools where no one can read. Entire public schools with multi-million-dollar budgets, no one can read. Care about the children, taking children away from their parents so that they can cut off perfectly healthy body parts on the children, convincing the children they were born in the wrong body. Yes, for the children, my rear. Maura Healey, the governor of Massachusetts, she is absolutely guilty of pulling the child card. Let's see. Last year, remember when she went to the Roxbury neighborhood of Massachusetts, which is mostly Black, which is poor. And there's a recreation center there, public recreation center called the Melnia Cass, whatever, Recreation Community Center. There's a pool. Kids can go play basketball there. It's really all these kids have in this neighborhood. They don't have fancy parents like the ones in the suburbs who take them skiing on the weekends in Massachusetts, and they can't afford to be on hockey teams. This is what they got. They hang at the community center. But Maura kicks them all out and then put a bunch of illegal aliens in there. And this was the video that she put out at the time when she got the much deserved backlash. I cannot stand this woman. If you can't tell, this is not fair and balanced reporting. I cannot stand Maura Healey and what she has done to the state of Massachusetts, where I raised my son and where I lived for 23 years and which had become a home to me, and I left. Anyway, I digress.
To this, little kids need to be able to breathe clean air. They need to be able to access swimming pools. They need to have lifeguards there who are going to teach them how to swim. And they need to have activities. I don't know what we're going to do for a couple, 3 months.
She, in that video, was doing this like, the little kids, they need these things. They need them. Like she was like trying so hard to fake cry. This woman is evil. She didn't give a shit about those kids, until she got backlash. And now, furthermore, she hasn't cared about the migrant children who have been in peril on her watch. So she makes it very clear she's a sanctuary state. And she has said that she's going to do everything she can to obscure Donald Trump. And before, Trump got into office and Trump got even elected, she was like, we're sanctuary, we're taking everybody in, ICE is not welcome here. If ICE put a detainer out for an illegal immigrant, she obstructed it, wouldn't deliver illegal aliens, even if they were criminals, to the peril of her citizens. She was full of it. when she talked about the children then, and she is full of it now. So in 2024, in one of her shelters, 13 or 14-year-old migrant girl, shall I say illegal alien, was repeatedly raped by her father in one of the shelters. Now, you would think that once the state found out that an illegal alien was raping his young daughter repeatedly, that they would have taken him, arrested him, turned him over to ICE, and let them have their legal way with him, or at least criminally prosecuted the man. But do you know what Maura did? Maura took the man and moved him to another shelter. That's it. She just hid it. She just covered it up. The father admitted that he raped the kid. He said it was a regular thing. He just thought it was normal to jump on his daughter. And you might, if you're a liberal listening to this, go, it's not Maura's fault. And that's just one incident. There were dozens and dozens of rapes and sexual assaults that happened in these illegal alien hotels and shelters that Maura Healey kept inviting people to. She was in over her head from day one. So not only was she inviting rapists and criminals and murderers into her state, for the people that she supposedly cared about so much, the migrants, the people there who were innocent illegal aliens, other than their illegal alien status, like who were probably not criminals or violent, she was putting them in danger. She put her citizens in danger. She lives in an ivory tower, completely insulated from all of this. And then she lied and covered it up until she couldn't cover it up anymore because it got so big. The Boston Globe has been releasing a lot of information. A lot of newspapers actually have about the rapes, the thefts, the assaults, the drugs. Remember last month, the guy who had the AR-15 and like 5 kilos of fentanyl in one of Maura Healey's illegal alien shelters? Remember that guy? Yep. Prostitution going on in the shelters, sex trafficking, everything. Oh, I'm committed to this. It's for the children. Yeah, get bent, Maura. So anyway, as of last month, that father, there were still no charges pending, just the cover up. But this isn't really a surprise because Maura has talked out of both sides of her mouth when it comes to protecting children in the past. So you may recall back in 2002, the Boston Globe Spotlight investigative journalism team released a bombshell story that made national and international headlines about the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church was aware that that priests were sexually abusing children in the church for years. And what did they do? They did the same thing Maura did. Instead of prosecuting the priest, they just moved him to a new parish. And Spotlight uncovered all these records proving where all these priests had been moved. And every time they offended, they just moved them again because they didn't want to mess up their reputation. That is exactly what Maura has done. She doesn't want to mess up her reputation. She wants to be, Mother Maura and take in the whole world. Meanwhile, everything she's doing is just disgusting and despicable and hurting Massachusetts citizens and children. The very children who we're supposedly here to protect.
Our children, our children, our children.
Yeah. Our children, our children, our children. So after the Spotlight story broke, it was massive in Massachusetts and in Boston, but there were other parishes within the Catholic diocese that weren't investigated. And that was Springfield, Fall River, and Worcester. And no state AG attorney general in years had done anything about it, had done an investigation. So Maura comes in 2015. She's the attorney general. She's also not doing anything about it. She starts to get public pressure to do something about it. So she conducts a small investigation where she interviews a bunch of people in these towns, some victims. That's it. That's all that happened. She did a little investigation. Nobody ever heard another word of it. Nothing ever came of it. Information was never released to the public. If there were any further prosecutions that needed to happen, nothing ever happened. Why, Maura? Why did you first have to be pressured into investigating child sex crimes in your districts, in your state as attorney general? And why then did you sit on the report after it came out? So now we've got Andrea Campbell, who's another attorney, current attorney general, in Massachusetts, who took over after Maura when Maura became governor. Andrea Campbell is another woke monster who's, a race baiter. Everything's it should be a sanctuary city. We shouldn't comply with ICE, all this stuff. And she said, and I quote, "I inherited a report that was completed, sitting there. And now I'm doing what I can to see what we can do in terms of releasing it." What? I'm doing what I can to see what I could do in terms of releasing it. That's just a bunch of words. We want some action, Andrea Campbell. Why do you constantly cover up for child predators as a state? It's disgusting. The cradle of the American Revolution has become a hellhole. A hellhole. And Maura is on TV all the time saying Massachusetts was just ranked the #1 state to live in the United States, and we have the best education. Really? Because it's not looking so good right now. You also have one of the biggest mass exoduses in America. Reverse migration, meaning people are moving out of the state, because it is called Taxachusetts for a reason. It's been called Taxachusetts for years. She's completely out of control now. So just to go back on, Maura's incredible hypocrisy. Back when she was AG, she said, "We've been in touch with the Archdiocese. We've been in touch with the district attorney's offices. I want to make sure that there are answers and there is accountability." So she wanted accountability from the church, supposedly. Where's your accountability, Maura? We cannot allow that kind of conduct to continue, and the cover up and the hiding and the failure to deal with this. The hypocrisy is laughable. I'm sorry to laugh. This is a serious topic, but do these politicians even hear themselves? Do they remember the lies and nonsense that comes out of their mouth one day and then they do something else the next day? And it's like it never happened. And they just stand there bold-faced lying with a bloody knife in their hand saying, "I didn't stab you." Anyway, so some more of her when I read a couple of comments that Maura Healey made during the time that she was being pressured to investigate more on the Catholic Church scandal. And she made a couple of comments that, if you just changed a few words around, would fit perfectly for the situation that she finds herself in now as somebody covering up sexual assaults on children and other crimes in her migrant shelters. She said, "I do want to underscore, I think that the message of what we've seen out of Rome and the Pope, frankly, doesn't cut it." That's how we feel about you, Maura. "The U.S. Conference of Bishops, I think, are meeting this morning, right now in Baltimore. And to my mind, this has been an institution that is still way behind the ball in terms of where it needs to be." Same could be said for you, Maura. "I feel bad for the men and women who work in the church, who are doing great things in our communities on a lot of fronts." I'm sure there are some good people who work in Massachusetts, in the state and the city, who are doing good things. I don't really see anything great coming out of either of those institutions, but hey, I'm biased. Maybe there's something. Anyway, but understandably, this is driving people away from the church. Until they get things right, I think you're just going to continue to see more people leave the church. That's the Democrat Party. We're watching more and more people leave the Democrat Party. And I want everybody to know that their beloved liberal progressive Maura Healey has been covering up just the way the Catholic Church did. So every time you hear a liberal say, "Well, what about priests? They diddle kids." Yeah, we didn't approve of that. And we all laid into them for that. And they lost a lot of followers because of that. Not followers of Christ, but a lot of members of the church because of that. Yeah, same thing that's happening to the Democrats because they're disgusting. And Maura, I just got to add this in because it makes me extra mad. Not only does she not protect children, she also lords over some of the most grotesque practices in Massachusetts schools. So the video I'm going to show you right now is just a quick hit about some of the books that were found through an investigation of the Boston public schools. I work closely with an organization called Take Back the Classroom. Highly recommend you follow them. And they investigated Boston public schools to see which pornographic books were in the schools. So Maura, I'd also like for you to explain why this is in your classrooms.
Committed to this. Little kids.
Butt fucking, ass love, backdoor action. What is it and how do I do it? Hey Boston, have you heard what's going on in your schools? Anal sex is entering the anus and rectum for sexual satisfaction of both partners.
If you're using toys or dildos for anal sex, be sure the object has a flared base that is a good deal larger than the anus. Although things can't get lost inside the vagina, they can inside the rectum. His brows rose. I breathed.
This
If
is
I
crazy.
asked him for it, what would you do? He at last met my eyes again. You are always free to do what you want, with whomever you want. So if you want to ride him, go ahead.
Children.
I walked to my mother's room,
Oh, there's
but
more.
it looked different. She looked different. I look like little baby almost.
this is bad.
She's talking sweet to me like sometimes daddy talks. I'm choking between her legs. She is smelling big woman smell. She says, suck it, lick me, precious. Her hand is like a mountain pushing my head down. I squeeze my eyes shut, but choking don't stop, it get worse. Then I open my eyes and look. I look at little precious and big mama and feel like killing mama.
Yeah. Very disturbing. Now, you're hearing me talk about that's in Boston Public Schools. Those very books are in schools in all 50 states. Democrats are absolutely committed to grooming our children and absolutely committed to not protecting our children, even though they say again and again and again and again that the children are their priority.
Our children, our children, our children.
Moving on from the nightmare that is Massachusetts, let's talk about Governor Kathy Hochul from New York. All right, so here's the story. There's this teenager, underage. She's in Louisiana. She gets pregnant. In Louisiana, the abortion pill is classified as a controlled substance. So you have to have a prescription in Louisiana in order to use it. There's very limited abortion access there. It is one of the most restrictive states in the country. However you feel about that, put it aside. That's not the story. Kid's mom, that teenager's mom, she orders the pills online, abortion pills for her daughter from a doctor in New York. The kid didn't want to take the pill. The mother tricked her into taking the pill, forced it on her. And now the mother in Louisiana and the doctor in New York have been indicted on criminal charges because it is against the law to traffic the drugs into Louisiana. And it's, I forget what the other part of it is. I think it's against the law to, force somebody to take drugs. I'll clarify that in a minute. So the New York Governor Kathy Hochul, in a hilarious turn of events, has decided that she is refusing to comply with the indictment. And she saw this coming a while back, and she suspected it might happen. So she even put laws in place to supposedly protect her doctors from this so they could do whatever they want. Here's what she had to say about this story when the doctor got indicted.
In the outrageous news that a New York State doctor has been indicted by the state of Louisiana for simply providing a life-saving medication to induce an abortion, mifepristone, to a patient via telehealth in the state of Louisiana. This is exactly the scenario we envisioned could happen and why I signed into law very tough shield laws, where I am proud to say I will never, under any circumstances, turn this doctor over to the state of Louisiana under any extradition request. And I want to also say this. This is exactly what we feared. Republicans are fighting to have a national abortion ban that'll deny reproductive freedom to women, not just in our state, but all across America. We must stand firm and fight this, and I will do everything I can to protect this doctor and allow her to continue the work that she's doing that is so essential.
Essential work. First, she calls it life-saving. Abortion is the opposite of life-saving. Abortion pills. Sorry, Kathy. I don't care what you say. If you think that, a child is an inconvenience, go ahead and feel free to think that. But to call it life-saving is just the definition of insanity. The fact that she is just refusing to, comply with other states' laws is not really a surprise, because she's also refuse to comply with federal laws, like federal immigration laws. She's another one who has put, just ignored ICE detainers across the state. She's also pushing this stuff as being safe all the time. You hear Democrats saying the abortion pill is safe. And I am going to get into that in a way that is very, very disturbing. Don't worry, I'm not going to show you anything graphic. I'm just going to give you some facts, because some people, when you start showing them graphic stuff about abortion, they're just like, no, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. I can't even watch this, which is crazy, because we all should be looking this in the eye. Because if as a society, we're going to look and say it's okay to end the lives of 1 million babies a year in America, at least have the cojones to look it in the eyes. But I'm not doing that to you tonight, okay? Don't worry. Maybe some other time when I'm feeling less kind. Anyway. Regarding the law, back in May of 2024, when Donald Trump received his felony conviction in New York, remember that? Kathy Hochul was so excited, and she said this: today's verdict reaffirms that no one is above the law. Remember, all the Democrats, no one is above the law. No one is above the law. You could easily put together a compilation of all of them just repeating it over and over and over. In preparation for a verdict in this trial, I directed my administration to closely coordinate with local and federal law enforcement, and we continue to monitor the situation. So she wants to closely coordinate with local and federal law enforcement when it suits her political desires. But when it doesn't, like with immigration and these abortion pills, then Kathy goes, yeah, the law, who cares about the law? Whatever, it doesn't really matter. We're committed to protecting the safety of all New Yorkers and the integrity of our judicial system, as if Donald Trump threatened anyone's safety. Okay. And when it comes to committed to protecting the safety, that is, also ironic that in this case about the abortion, she is putting women in harm's way. So she had put together this SHIELD law last year, signed it into order, where if a doctor sends a prescription for an abortion pill across state line to a state where it's illegal, that she will protect them and she will not extradite them to that state. So she's saying, as you heard her say with this New York doctor, she's not going to send them to Louisiana. Louisiana can go scratch as far as Kathy Hochul is concerned. And the people of Louisiana can go scratch. So her doctors are just going to either continue to send medication across state lines, or maybe they will stop because they really don't need to be like having indictments in other states. Because what happens when, I didn't even know. I should have thought of this question before I went live and looked into it. But like, if I have a warrant out for my arrest in one state, like, even if my governor's like, don't worry about it. Like, but say I leave, say I go to Jersey, maybe Jersey, isn't in the mood to fight with Louisiana, and they're like, I got her, and they send you over there. I mean, how does that work? Is this doctor now just like trapped in New York? Not that I care. The doctor, like, I don't care. People like, oh, this is terrible to do this to a doctor. No, a doctor shouldn't be breaking the law. It is that simple. No one is above the law. You break the law, you pay, especially in matters of life and death, such as this. So the Louisiana Attorney General, Liz Murrill, says it is illegal to send abortion pills into the state, and it's illegal to coerce another into having an abortion. That's what I was talking about before, about forcing somebody into taking pills. She said it better. Obviously, she is the Attorney General and way smarter than me. We will hold individuals accountable for breaking the law. So that's why she prosecuted the mother. They're prosecuting the mother, and she also trying to prosecute the New York doctor. These are criminal charges. How we know that the kid didn't want to take the abortion pill is because she had planned a gender reveal party. So it really is sick to me to think of a young woman, young girl. This is still a child. I realize that, but who understands that there's a life. And she already has an emotional attachment and has clearly made a commitment to going through with having this baby and keeping it alive. And her mother forced an abortion pill on her. Like, I don't know how you recover from that. Having a child as a teenager, in my mind, would be extremely difficult. But wanting that child and having your mother kill that child, like there's no joy. Like, you have the child as a teenager, the child grows, brings you joy, brings you love, expands your family. eventually, it gets easier because you're growing up too. But to know that your mother killed your child. And this, according to Democrats, is, life-saving healthcare and progress and what is right. The assistant DA, Tony Clayton, said, that child to me who took the pill is a child, and I don't think she can formulate the requisite intent to really know what was going on. That child is going to have such a hard time in life coping with this as she gets older and starts to really understand the implications of what happened to her here. It's really sick. It's really, really sick. So Kathy Hochul, Maura Healey, all of these people who love the children so very much.
Our children, our children, our children.
They are always carrying on about how the abortion pills are safe. And I've been talking about it for a long time, that I've done some research that has determined the exact opposite of abortion pills being safe. There's a doctor I'm going to introduce you to in a second here. Her name is Kathy Altman. She's been an OBGYN for decades. In the beginning of her career, she was an abortionist. She committed a great number of abortions. And then when she became pregnant and she had her own child, she kind of got freaked out by it. She was like, she saw the miracle that happened in her own child. And she said, I can't do this anymore. And then she said that she saw women who she had provided abortions to, who had physical and emotional distress afterwards for years. Like it started to really weigh on her. And then on top of it, she saw women who were in what they call crisis pregnancies, where they weren't, they had unexpected pregnancies, but they decided that they were going to stay the course and have the baby. And she saw those women thriving and being thrilled and falling in love with their children. And so that changed her whole view on abortion. She used to be very, very pro-abortion and pro-choice. And then she changed and became pro-life because of that. So she did a lot of research and has presented some of this research on mifepristone and the abortion pills. Let me just show you a little bit about the first clip from her.
Proponents of Amendment 4 keep saying that abortion is safe and effective and that the abortion pill is safer than Viagra or Tylenol. But that's easy to say when only 28 states report abortion complications to the CDC, and 4 states, including California, one of the biggest abortion providers, do not report any abortion data to the CDC.
So 28 states don't report adverse events. She went on to say how there's something like 38% of second-term mifepristone abortions where they take a pill end up needing to have emergency surgery, surgical abortion, because it goes wrong. So what happens when you're taking these pills, for starters, is that you take pill 1, the first pill starves the baby of oxygen and nutrients and ends its heartbeat. So the first pill kills the baby. That takes hours. This is a slow and agonizing death for the baby if it can feel anything at this point in its development. The second pill you take the next day, and that sends your body into a false labor where you expel the baby, and the baby goes into your toilet bowl and is then flushed into sewers. So we have human remains being flushed into America's sewers and cesspools. And then we have the residue of these drugs and the human remains contaminating our water supplies and our groundwater. That's what's really going on in America, to the tune of about 600,000 babies a year. The fact that only 28 states even report some adverse effects tells us immediately that we're not getting complete data. So when they say it's safe, it's safe, it's safe, it is just like what they did during COVID when they were like, oh, all these doctors, 100% of doctors say this new vaccine is perfectly safe and you should have it. 100% of doctors say you must stay 6 feet apart. 100% of experts say that you must not see your family on Christmas. When there were other ones over here going, excuse me, there's all this other data and information and science that, either, contradicts what you're saying. And they took those people and they put a bag over their head and shoved them in the cellar so that they couldn't speak. Remember that? Zuckerberg did it. Dorsey did it on Twitter. Silenced everybody. Anybody who asked a question at work or who refused a mandatory vax, what happened to them? They got fired. So that's what they're doing with the abortion pill. Why? Just like the other one, money. It's big, big, multi-billion-dollar bags of money every year here in America, not to mention across the world. That woman, Altman, Dr. Altman, she was the lead author on a study of mifepristone, which the atrocious drug I just explained to you. They did a 19-year study, and here's what they found in that study.
We found that the reporting of complications abruptly stopped once the FDA stopped requiring prescribers to report abortion pill complications other than death. Studies from Finland, where meticulous records are kept, report much higher complication rates than those quoted by abortion advocates.
Yeah, so again, these sickos are not including real data so that they can make money and they can push this anti-family, anti-motherhood, anti-life agenda and get rich doing it. It's evil. There's no question about it. It's not even like you're giving people, real information and letting them make a decision for themselves. I can't stress enough. I beg of you, if you have a young woman in your life who is considering an abortion, if she absolutely is hell-bent on having an abortion, she's better off going into a clinic and having a surgical abortion. I also would encourage her to reconsider altogether. But if she must, please keep your young ladies off of this horrible, monstrous poison pill. It's poison. And we still don't know some of the long-term effects. Like if a teenager takes it, there are no long-term studies on how that affects their fertility in the future. If a breastfeeding woman takes it, there are still no long-term studies on what that breast milk does to the actual child that they already have if they take the abortion pill. It's mind-blowing. We're still figuring out how much of it is in our water and how that's going to affect us. Like we don't have enough garbage in our water. And just from a moral standpoint, 1 million babies a year being sacrificed so that women can, go to an office and make spreadsheets. It just does not make any sense to me. Anyway, all that to say, Kathy Hochul is a liar and a snake, and she's an evil witch for pushing this and spreading her poison around the country. And I hope that there's a way around her shield law, and her doctor can be properly indicted in Louisiana for breaking the law, because as Kathy said, no one is above the law. Okay. And just to put a cherry on this crappy cake of people who don't care about our children, I want to just share a couple of things that DOGE has come out with this week. They, again, say that the children are so important and American citizens are important, and all they have done is burn our tax dollars for decades. And it is freaking astonishing what we're finding out, what's coming out of DOGE, the things that the American people are seeing are infuriating to watch my money burn. People can't pay their mortgages, and they can't go on vacations. They can't fill up their refrigerators because they're being taxed to death either by inflation and actual taxes. Yet we've got money for things like this. $2 million from Moroccan pottery classes in Morocco. 2 million of your dollars. $20 million to produce a Sesame Street show in Iraq. Yeah, Iraqi Elmo is more important than you being able to have enough money to put a new roof on your house when you need it. Oh, they sent, I don't know, I don't have the number on this yet, but they sent a bunch of Ukrainians to Paris for Fashion Week on a vacation. I've never been to Paris. That would be nice. That'd be nice. I don't want the government to send me to Paris. I want the government to take less of my money so I can send my own self to Paris when the time is right. Not that I would go there now. Actually, Europe looks like it's under siege. $1.5 million for DEI initiatives in Serbia, because that's just what they want in Serbia. Oh, $70,000 of your dollars was spent on a DEI musical in Ireland. Oh, 47,000 on a transgender opera in Colombia. But this one's my favorite. Actually, this is $2 million for sex change operations in Guatemala. Just like, this is like, did you feel like you're watching a Saturday Night Live episode? Like, if they were like, hey, let's make up some stuff that the government spent money on that sounds absolutely absurd that no decent government would ever do. And they'd be like, yeah, $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala. And all the writers in the writers' room are like, ha ha ha. Yeah, that's what this feels like, except this is our real lives here in America. $1 million to help disabled people in Tajikistan become climate leaders. What? $15 million for contraceptives and condoms in Taliban-controlled Afghanistan. All of it is for Americans, right? All of it is, just to make Americans feel good about ourselves.
Our children, our children, our children.
Nancy Pelosi, who was lorded over Washington, who has made herself hundreds of millions of dollars with insider trading, will continue to say, our children, our children, our children. Maura Healey will continue to say, our children, our children, our children. And so will all of these other creeps. Kathy Hochul, Gavin Newsom, ton of them. I don't know about you, but I think it's time for us to take our country back for ourselves and, you guessed it, our children. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Do me a favor, if you like this show, drop a sub, drop a like, drop a comment. It helps, the algorithm to feed it up and to other people, so I can hopefully, get this growing. And I'll see you back here Friday. I think I'm doing Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. But if you don't catch me, it means there was some reason that I couldn't be here. But that's pretty much the schedule. Thank you again for coming. God bless you, and God bless America. Bye, guys.